Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Sanctuary. I'm your host, K. Will.
It's your boy GP.
Oh, what up, y'all? It's your boy BT.
It's your boy Los. You know what I'm saying? What's up?
Oh boy.
What's up? It's
I
your
thought you
boy
said
here, the national champion. You know, some call me Sam, some call me Bob.
brother, let that shit go. Y'all are 5-5.
Yeah.
That shit is hung up now, brother.
Yeah,
They done been came.
that. I mean, you holding on by a thread, but that's cool though. But of course, we're back here each and every week, 3 times a week, making sure we cover and break down the big games, give you some good picks and some good parlays. We're gonna get right into it. First of all, I mean, how is everybody doing? You know, it's been a long weekend. I ain't gonna lie, fantasy football took me out. Georgia lost. It was a tough weekend. I'm not gonna lie. How y'all feeling?
My sports
Jamar
weekend.
Chase. I played Jamar Chase this week. That's all I'm gonna say.
A tough weekend for the state of Florida. A tough weekend for the state of Georgia. It was
Yeah, it
just
sucked. I ain't gonna lie.
Dang,
Only
I
team
forgot the Falcons did lose too. Yeah, it's just
Falcons lost.
The
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 Hawks.
Bears. I don't even want to talk about the Bears.
The Hawks
Y'all
lost
suck.
twice. Only team in Georgia that won was Georgia Tech and Atlanta United.
Georgia
And
Tech.
Wow,
they beat two Miami
big
teams.
tech.
And they beat
Um,
two Miami teams.
Actually, out of that, we'll go ahead and get into it with Georgia Tech, Miami. Pretty self-explanatory. They won the possession by I think 9 minutes, and that was the way they won the game. I think we saw for the first time where Miami's mistakes cost them. You had Cam Ward. If you look at his stat line, 300 plus yards. It looked like a normal game. 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, pretty good completion percentage. It's just again, you mess around, you gonna find out. The defense was not doing what they needed to do. We thought that secondary was the weak point of the Miami defense, but Georgia Tech held it down by running the ball, and that's how they won that game. We'll go with you, BT. How do you feel about Cam Ward's Heisman odds right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. In my personal opinion, I believe it kind of remains the same. In my personal Heisman odds, he was third. I believe Ashton Genty still did his thing this weekend with a 200-yard plus performance. And then, like I said, I had Travis Hunter at second. Now, like you said, the stats were still there. Like I said, so on paper, it looked like a traditional, normal Cam Ward game. However, like you said, it was, if you watched the game, like I said, Georgia Tech was kind of leading from wire to wire. They really, really had their hands all on that game. So I think it definitely took a slight hit, but depends what he does the next two, potentially 3+ games. He might be able to recover from it.
Yeah, I guess it does depend on where you had him to begin with. But right now, based off of FanDuel, he's sitting in fourth place. So he dropped from second to fourth real quick. He's at plus 800 right now. And Ashton Genty is actually at plus 350. Travis Hunter, I think we kind of feel like he's going to be the winner. He's at plus 120. Dylan Gabriel, he hopped up plus 320. GP, how do you feel about Miami's chances in the playoff now? Of course, they have to win out, essentially. We kind of look at it, and we'll talk about it later, but ACC is probably not getting 2 teams in, but how do we feel about their playoff chances?
They fumbled a little bit. I'm not saying that they can't get in because I think that they still could potentially, but now you actually have to win out. The line to get in is probably having to win your conference championship as opposed to, like you just said, I don't think 2 teams are getting in the ACC. And their schedule hasn't been the greatest this year either. I don't think it's over necessarily, but I'm not too high on their prospects in the playoffs just because the lack of defense. I think the offense is fine. The offense has been good all year. We've been saying it. Don't play around. Like, we literally begged them not to play around, and it bit them in the ass, unfortunately. So
Yeah, that's true. And then, of course, I mean, we should give props to the winner. Let's talk Georgia Tech. They are 6-4. They're going to a bowl game. That's big. I don't remember the last time Georgia Tech went to a bowl game. Did they make one last year? I think they were short.
Back to back. I think it's a back to back. I think they're making it back to back years.
They went last year?
I think they.
Yeah, I think they did.
Well, y'all look that up. Either way, they're going to a bowl game this year. That's a big, big win for Georgia Tech. I like how the crowd showed up. I would say, what was y'all's most surprising part about watching that game? We'll go with you, Los.
My most surprising part about watching that game was typically during homecoming, you play some scrubs just so you can get a nice little victory win under your belt during homecoming. Keep the morale boosted, keep the liquor flowing. And when I tell you they played a top five team in the country and Georgia Tech went to work during homecoming, the most surprising part to me, football wise, was we all knew he was mobile as a quarterback. He was a pretty mobile quarterback. But that boy, when I seen that boy run that ball, hey, there was nothing the line or the secondary could do because they threw the ball decently, decent enough to where the secondary had to. The secondary was always mid to begin with. They had to focus up.
Yeah,
The line is so spread apart because the running backs could run the ball. Then you got the quarterback just taking off whenever he feels like it because there's no one who has him as a priority. So he's literally going for 20 plus yards whenever he feels like it. Literally, like I
yeah.
think that was the most impressive part about the game for me.
I mean, Haynes King, he did a great job. I don't know why you're surprised by his running game. That's just what he does. They also ran 8 different people ran the ball. Uh,
Not surprised by his running game, like he couldn't run the ball, but surprised that he was able to. He would win every time he ran, he was successfully at least getting a first down minimum.
I mean, I ain't gonna
Like
lie, that's his type of game though. To be honest with you, it was a big game. He ran 20 times for 93 yards, but the bigger part of that was he couldn't throw because of the shoulder. But every time he had to throw, it was completion. He had 100% completion percentage. He threw 6 passes, completed 6 passes, and then
And a
they had
tutty.
and a
oh,
touchdown. Had the freshman
like
come
a
in,
Heisman.
so I mean, they did what needed to be done, and it's kind of scary. I agree with you because it's crazy how they're not going to pass the ball 9 times out of 10 when he's in there unless they have to because of the shoulder injury. But when they had to throw it, on his end, it was a completion, and then you have a freshman coming in, and he's doing the best he can, 50%. That's not bad when you leave him with a W. Bob, where do you feel like Miami goes from here? Do you think they actually win out?
Miami's in a bad spot right now. Just because, I mean, now they're vulnerable. I mean, they've been vulnerable. I mean, their defense hasn't really shown anything all year to make me believe in them. So, I mean, Syracuse could easily come out and beat them. It's the last game of the season. They could be motivated. You never know. And, some teams are motivated to knock teams out the playoffs. So, I mean, that could be Syracuse's chance to do that right then and there, especially if they have a good game. But Miami from here, they got to win out. If they don't, I don't see them getting in the playoffs with 2 losses. So I mean, they got to win out. Unless they win the conference championship, they got to win out. If not, I mean, it's bad for them.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of the good thing, but actually, it's not a good thing because if they do take that second loss, they aren't in the conference championship.
Yeah,
Right now, it's Miami, SMU, and then Clemson. Only because
the
SMU
tiebreaker.
they've already played. Yeah, well, not even the tiebreaker. They've already played more. I think they're in a Georgia-esque situation. They got one more ACC game left, while Clemson still has 2. So we'll see. We'll see. We will see. I mean, at the end of the day, it was most surprising to me or troublesome to see how Miami got ran on like that. We thought the defensive line and the line of scrimmage was, I mean, on the offensive line too, they really just lost the line of scrimmage. That was very, very surprising to me because if you're losing a line of scrimmage like that to Georgia Tech, I don't even know if we really need to see y'all in the playoff. And
I got 2 words for that. 3. I lied 4. Brent Key football team. My bad. I tweaked that. But I'm just saying, Brent Key is really good at the line of scrimmage, whether it's
yeah,
on offensive
I mean,
line or the defensive
Nigga
line.
can't count, y'all.
but so is Mario Cristobal. That's supposed to be Cristobal's main bread and butter right there. At the end of the day, I mean, not to take anything away from Miami. I mean, what they've done is what they've done thus far. I think most people would still take that offensive line. It's still a brick wall. I for damn sure would take them in Athens over what the hell we got. But it's still a good offensive line. I don't even want to play Georgia Tech. I think they just came to play. I think it's a new regime at Georgia Tech. And I think I'm more excited to see what happens next year if they figure out the quarterback situation, of course. I don't think we saw enough of the freshman to see if he's just automatically going to be their quarterback next year. And I think how Georgia Tech is rolling and how Brent Key is recruiting, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull in a quarterback transfer.
You know
I
what
don't.
Mario Cristobal would be good at?
Oh God.
He would be a good high school football coach for like a good team like IMG or some shit. Like a team
What
that
Um,
made you say that, bro?
because
Like what?
because he does extremely well against teams that can't compete. So as far as like IMG already has a level above everybody. They have the talent. He can coach them very well to be an elite and extremely super elite football team. But when it comes to, having to be in a conference and play against teams that, you gotta sometimes make some actual coaching decisions. You're gonna have to actually like look at a scheme and figure out what to do. I don't think he excels there, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just not his thing.
I'm not the biggest Mario fan, but that was like the most disrespectful thing you probably
That
could have
was
said about
crazy.
him.
That was
I
crazy.
am I mean
I want to say, I
if we gonna
want
get negative, let's get all the way negative, you know what I'm saying?
to.
I
Random, I just want to say,
I think
random
that's
side fact though.
worse. That's worse
Yeah,
than
that was
anything I ever heard Grant say about Lincoln Riley.
yeah, that was bad.
That's pretty
Random
disrespectful.
sidebar though. I do want to give a shout out to Buster Faulkner for being able to manage two quarterback system in that situation, and I guess a pivotal game like that as well. And like you said, I'm interested to see what the freshman Aaron Philo does. I guess next year or moving forward for them as well. And
Yeah.
by the way, they are, like Bob said, this is their second year being bowl eligible. So
Okay.
that's
That's
dope.
good.
Which is funny because the last time before last year, the last time they had been bowl eligible was 2018.
And I know y'all probably don't want to hear this as UGA fans, but y'all could be on upset alert against them, so just watch out.
I mean,
We
we
could
always
be.
are when we play
We
them. That ain't nothing new. For real.
always know, but
I mean, I'm saying since Brent Key has gotten there, they played us a lot
that's their
tougher.
Yeah.
I don't
Super
think
Bowl.
it's not nothing new. It's not
Yeah,
nothing like.
that's their.
I
Super
mean,
Bowl.
and even before Brent Key, I mean, they had those
Come on,
2
bro.
super
If
bad
y'all lose
years.
to them, bro, come on, we have a real big problem, bro. Let's be realistic, bro. Let's
But we're
stop
not
trying
even
to play
talking
that.
about losing. All we're talking about is
That
simply.
I
is
was,
what he's
I was
talking
just answering
about.
the question. I was just answering
No,
what you
I'm
said.
talking about it's not gonna be news to us that it's a tough game. Georgia Tech plays us tough. They had 2 bad years, extremely bad years. But outside of that, they went from playing that like, come on, bro, playing that wing
Here,
T, and that's the only
here.
team you got to play. That shit was a tough game every year.
Y'all
Then
think
they
y'all
had
can lose that
bad
game?
years.
Y'all think y'all can lose that game?
We can lose any game
We
right
can lose
now.
any game, but will we? Will we?
It's
No, I don't
kill
think
me.
we're.
No, we're
I
not
Lose
finna
any
lose to them. But
game.
at the end of the day,
That's too much confidence y'all
they
got.
almost beat us last year.
I
Niggas
don't
be
have.
humble
Nah,
as hell.
nah.
No,
I
they
just
We
be
almost
lose
saying
beat
any
that.
us
game.
last year.
Yeah, they only
That's
lost
just
by 8 last year, and it was like
they
and
almost
Georgia
beat us last year. Why
Tech had the
can't
lead in that game.
We was nah, but at one point we was dogging them
yeah?
as well.
But at the end of the day,
They let
they
them
were
come
in the
back.
game last year. Why? Who are we to be like? Oh, we finna whoop their ass this year? Why?
The team that
Why would
was
we say
supposed
that?
to be number one in the country, but
Who's supposed to be
here we
number one in the
go.
country?
Nobody.
I mean, if you believe we're supposed to be number one in the country, I'm honored, bro. I appreciate you.
Y'all were supposed to be, but y'all some bullshit now. I don't know what the fuck y'all got going on. Y'all were supposed to be number one in the country. The games y'all lost, I'm very disappointed in y'all. As much as I don't dislike y'all, but I don't like y'all. So as much as I don't like y'all, I'm thoroughly disappointed. Like,
All
it's
right,
like
well
that.
we'll go ahead and talk about our loss. Actually, before we talk about
Great
that, if you're
segue.
disappointed in Georgia, who else are you disappointed in?
I'm thoroughly disappointed in
I just want to see if it matters.
Michigan. Michigan. Uh,
Why?
I didn't expect them to be great. Didn't expect them to be 5-5 though. I thought their defense would be so much better than what they are. They give up points out the ass. I'm also disappointed in Texas
Why?
and Alabama. Texas was supposed to be a very good team. They were supposed to have also Ohio State. Ohio State, I mean, they only lost to Oregon, but I don't
He
think
done
they
named
should
the
have.
whole top 12.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn
But
near.
my thing
Damn
is,
near.
how can you be disappointed in Georgia and Texas? How can you be disappointed in Texas?
And
They
Ohio
only losses
State.
to Georgia, but you
Because they
disappointed in us.
because they y'all both still
Who
lost.
aren't
Like,
you?
what the
Who aren't you
fuck?
disappointed in?
I
Is a
mean,
better
y'all
question.
game against each other, somebody has to lose, but your losses to other teams, that's where the disappointment comes into factor. I'm
Who
not mad
who
that you
aren't
went to
you?
the championship and gave it your all and lost, but I'm mad that you lost to, Tennessee Tech in the middle of the season. Shit like that.
For Tennessee Tech.
it's a
It's a
it's
hypothetical. It's just talking.
I mean, we didn't lose to anybody hypothetically Tennessee Tech at all, though.
but
He's
okay.
just talking.
I mean,
He's making a point.
Yeah, I mean,
let's
Yeah.
the
I
Let's
point
talk.
is,
Let's talk
my
about
question.
UGA.
My only real question is before we get into the UGA thing is who are you
who are you
impressed with?
proud of? Oregon?
Truthfully,
I'm proud of. Truthfully, I'm proud of Georgia Tech because I didn't expect them to compete this well. I'm proud of Vanderbilt. Didn't
I give you.
expect them to compete
I
that
give,
well. I'm proud
I
of
give you
Boise
that.
State because I mean they haven't really played too much craziness, but who the fuck expected that? I don't think Indiana has played anybody, but the fact that they've managed to get themselves in the top five is, I mean, shout out to them. Like, I'm proud of that. That's what's up, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
the bar is in hell. But moving on, Georgia took an L to Ole Miss. Honestly, got their ass whooped. The
That's
score
what.
doesn't necessarily say that, but play on the field, they definitely got their ass whooped at the end of the day. So 28-10. Only touchdown by Georgia was on the short field at the beginning of the game. Did not touch the end zone again. Had a field goal, and that was it for the night. We pretty much clocked out. First and foremost, big shout out to Ole Miss. At the end of the day, we can't talk about the losers before we talk about the winners. Let's talk about Ole Miss. What are we most surprised about in that game? I personally
And
wasn't necessarily
I've
surprised about
been waiting.
My I would say my biggest surprise was the offense being as effective as it was with a quarterback who had a bum ankle. The backup quarterback went like 5 or 6 on his drive when they
it. Mm-hmm.
scored on the touchdown. Also winning as significantly as they did without their wide receiver one and starting running back.
Yeah, he did go 5.
You're actually not supposed to win those types of games. And I felt like at one point when Jackson got hurt and pulled himself out, I was like, "Oh snap, we finna maul these dudes." And then we started bullshitting, and it got ugly.
Yeah,
So here we are. Here we are.
I
Oh,
feel that.
and my last thing, I guess, is while I did respect Ole Miss's defensive line, I did not expect Georgia's offensive line to be that terrible. But that's it.
I feel you. I think we all kind of knew they were that terrible. I think we just didn't think they would actually show up to be that terrible.
They
Like
ain't
that
been
terrible.
that terrible all year, bro. That was disrespectful.
Let's
Or
give
I'll
that
say we
defensive line some credit. That defensive line came
Yeah,
through and
they
they,
did their thing.
boy,
Yeah,
That's why
they
you.
did y'all
That's
dirty.
why you put. That's why Lane Kiffin went in the portal, and he said it. He actually kind of said it after the game too. He was kind of like, we got drugged last year, 52-17 or whatever it was.
Yep.
He was like, I knew then that we were gonna have to compete with the likes of the Georgias and the Alabamas
No,
in the conference. So he was like, I had to go get some guys, which
I
he
mean
did.
they
He
at the end
brought
clearly
of
the
the day,
did.
boom. That's what they do. They brought the boom.
Clearly did. So shout
at
out
the
to
end of the
Lane
day,
Kiffin.
they did bring in a lot of good guys. I mean, their top. I'll say from an impact standpoint, all of their guys, at least the top 4 guys, were all transfers. You got Walter Nolan. We know he came straight from Texas. Chris Paul, he came from Arkansas, and then you had what's the other one? Hopefully I
Princely
wrote. Oh yeah, Jared Ivey. He came from Georgia Tech. Like they
and
was
MVP.
all transfers. They went
and
and got them guys.
Princely from Florida too.
And Princely came from Florida, so
He
they
was-
had those guys. I mean, they went and bought great players. I mean, like Nick Saban said, make sure you spent that money on good players. I think you're talking about Ohio State, but if you're talking about spending that money wisely, Lane Kiffin for sure did that. I think he went in there, he got good players. You have players who were a little questionable, like Walter Nolan, but I think also it was a risk for Walter Nolan. He couldn't go nowhere and F up again. So
Yeah.
I think he picked the right players, even if they've had past issues. He picked the right ones that they knew they was on their last strike too, and they're super duper talented. I'll say he killed the transfer portal at the end of the day. BT, what do you feel about the game in general?
Yeah, tough game. Like I said, even as a transparent, objective fan, I mean, we knew that going to Bama, to Texas, going to Ole Miss, one of those games could definitely trip us up. I wasn't necessarily predicting undefeated. I knew we was going to take one L at least. Wasn't necessarily predicting two in the regular season.
Yeah.
I was thinking we were going to potentially lose at Texas. I'm not at Ole Miss. Thankfully, it wasn't a night game, even though it was, like I said, an early afternoon game in the rain. We still weren't able to do what we needed to do. Like I said, we knew their defense was good, but I thought that we were going to execute a little bit better. However, like I said, hats off to them. The defensive line, they were out there doing what they needed to do, but really just scheme. We were out coached. Like I said, they just kept finding wide open offensive players in the middle of the field. So shouts out, to Lane on the offensive side of the ball and Golden on the defensive. So we'll learn from it. Any team can be beaten on any given day. They came and kicked us in the teeth. So hey, shouts out to them.
Carlos, what's the problem, bro?
I want that humility to go the fuck out the window, and I want we're Georgia. We winning this game. Like we're not.
We lost the game, so we can't say we're winning this game. We got our
I don't
ass
want that.
beat.
But after getting the ass whooped, I don't want the whole combo to change from, oh, we're Georgia, we're supposed to be number one. I don't want to go to. I mean, I had a feeling we'd probably lose this game.
Nobody
Miss
said
me
that.
with that. He
I'm
just
not.
said it.
I'm the only.
He just said it.
I'm
He
the
said
only
1 to
person.
3.
I'm probably the only person that really felt like we would win that game, but I wasn't like cocky about it. I was just like,
I
I
don't,
think
I'm not saying what y'all were talking about, Georgia. I mean, I felt like y'all did all think.
We were
No,
gonna
because
win.
before y'all played, y'all can't tell me y'all thought y'all would possibly lose to Ole Miss or y'all may possibly lose to Georgia Tech. Because when y'all played Texas, y'all
Why?
talked hot shit on this mic. Y'all talked
Why?
hot shit
Why would
about
we
top
not
10 Texas.
Why would it not be a possibility that we could lose to Ole Miss?
That wasn't the convo before them games. That's all I'm saying. I
Hey,
don't want to hear it after the games
hey,
that,
You're
I,
saying it's not a possibility.
I,
Like I said, any team can be beaten on any given day,
I'm not.
bro.
I follow my
Yeah,
own
yeah,
story.
that's
I know what
cool,
I
but
said.
that wasn't the convo before the game. So after the game, I don't want to hear. I mean, I always knew it was
I don't.
possibility
Maybe
we could lose,
I'll
but
speak for me.
before the game, it was it was real hot mics. You know what I'm saying? It was real.
Yeah.
We're Georgia. We're
I'll defer to Bob. Then I'll respond to you and Bob.
Just to Los's point real quick, I believe it was the last episode I was on. If you roll back the film, the last episode I was on, I mentioned Ole Miss as being one of those good teams, and Caitlin said, it's Ole Miss. Like, you just brushed them off. It's on the film, too.
I didn't brush them off. I said Ole Miss always Ole Misses.
That's kind of brushing them off.
That's brushing them off.
No, I'm saying they always are good, and then hey, but this, what do y'all want me to say, man?
No.
Like, bro, they beat us, bro. They beat us.
But look, now look,
It wasn't debatable.
that's respectable. They beat y'all. Boom. That's it. But to be like, they beat us, and then be like, I had this feeling that they would beat us. No, because that wasn't the
Who
feeling that you
said
had
that?
pre-game.
Keep the same energy.
I'm just saying, BT just said it. I mean,
he watch y'all stand 10 toes. 10
Go ahead, BT.
The only thing, like I said, I respect Lane. I just think Lane be doing weird shit. And I think he was laser focused this time. And I feel like people don't realize Ole Miss is actually very desperate too. They had 2 L's. Like, they were playing for their playoff lives with this game. So they actually really had to win this game.
I mean, they had 2 L's they had no business having at all.
Yeah, and I will say, after Jackson Dart threw that first pick, I genuinely thought this was finna be almost like a replay of last year, and I was gonna be like, finna whoop these boys' ass again. Ole Miss locked in on the and they really could have folded too, because it was like 4th and 3, I think, or 4th and something. And goes for it on his first drive, which is insane. Well, second drive, excuse me, which is insane. With a backup quarterback, they converted and they ended up scoring on that drive. They should not have converted that. And I think if they don't convert that, we probably go down there and go up 10 at minimum, but possibly
don't fold for
2 touchdowns. And at that point, I think they would be panicking again.
Potentially. I mean, we didn't put them in a position where they could fold. I don't think they had to really much. But
that play call would have got real crazy.
My only point is, as a team that has the number 1 strength of schedule in the nation, acknowledging that you could have a difficult game on the road, that's not making an excuse. We have three road games. Like I said, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Texas, at Alabama. We can't say this. We can't, like, it's the number one strength of schedule for a reason. I don't have to talk.
Y'all have
It
the
says
what?
it.
I think Florida has that.
They
What
don't.
the fuck are we talking about? Georgia
They
does not
don't.
have the strongest schedule in the country.
It's
Florida
us
has
now.
that.
No, it's us now.
On Carlos's scale, yes, y'all have Florida has it, but on
No.
ESPN scale,
No, man.
Yes.
At the
So, like I said,
beginning of the year, it
Georgia.
was Florida, but now it's Georgia.
We need a
They
baseline.
based-
we were
based
looking
off how
at
these teams are playing.
several different
How
polls
does that
because
even add up?
even in the
They changed it
initial
based off of how good
podcast,
people end up playing. and how
even in the
bad
initial
people do.
podcast that didn't air, like I said, it had Mississippi State as a more difficult strength of schedule before Florida did, and
They
then
did.
like I
It was
said, we
actually
were up there as well. So
State
like
at the beginning of the season, it was
things are fluid. Like I said, we're not into making excuses. We into being back to back national champions. That's somebody that only 60% of us on the screen can say.
Yeah, brother, hang
However,
that shit up. That was 2 years ago, brother.
you said 2000. You said 2008.
Hey, you said only a couple people can say back-to-back champions?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about our freshman year in high school.
You said y'all got a football guy that came out of y'all school?
I'm just gonna talk to Bob because he's won a natty more recently than y'all have. But to your point, some call you Sam, some call you Bob. Like I said, I'm not gonna make an excuse. I don't remember what Kaylin's saying that, but I'm gonna speak to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, any team can lose on any given day. They didn't have their top receiver, their top running back. We didn't have our top two receivers. ETN was hooking up. Whatever. You got to play on in between the white lines. They beat our ass. That's what it was.
I mean,
that's why I really have no excuse other than we got our lunch money taken, and we now are fighting. We are now in the same situation that Ole Miss was this past week. We are in desperation mode, fighting for our playoff lives with Tennessee, who's ranked over us, coming into town. We got to handle business, point blank, period. Win the game.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest. The reason I tend to feel like Georgia, I'm not necessarily cocky about it, but the reason I am confident in them is because I've seen them battle through types of adversity over these past couple of years since Kirby's been here, and I've just been like, oh, we cool.
Not the same team.
It's a different team. It's a different team.
It's a different team. It genuinely is a different team. But that's why. But at the same time, I'm confident in the coach.
I don't like this Carson Beck. I don't like any Carson Beck, but
yeah.
I know you wouldn't. Y'all done lost 4 straight to him. Well, not 4 straight to Carson. 2 straight to Carson. So sorry.
I mean, the biggest. To be honest, though, what should be the biggest, most concerning thing to y'all is not even y'all offense. I think it should be y'all defense.
I disagree. I got it.
You're not lying right
because,
now.
I mean,
I don't think
Georgia's. Y'all, like I said last week, I think last week, y'all identity is y'all defense. I thought y'all was coming back to y'all championship defense. But like to GP's point, y'all let a backup freshman quarterback come in the second drive of the game and drive a 10, not even 5 for 6, 10 play 75-yard drive to a touchdown. Like that's crazy.
They converted a 4th down.
Yeah, so I mean that's more concerning to me. And then not even that though. Not even that. Like I said, Dart had a bum ankle. Y'all only got 1 sack on him. 1 sack. That's crazy. And he came back and ran for like 50 yards on y'all on a bum ankle. That's very concerning. So I mean, and then I don't know. It was just that's the more concerning than y'all offense to me, because I mean we seen y'all offense be explosive. I mean, but this right here is crazy.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest though. I understand where you're coming from. I guess I'm more so taking it as we should be concerned about our players. I don't think there's anything wrong with our defensive players. I think, and we'll move on to the next question, is just who's on the hot seat at Georgia right now? Whose seat is the hottest? And I feel like I don't know if it's offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. They're both the same. I don't think there's anything wrong with our defensive players. I think we have some good players. They made some mistakes out there. But, of course, I want to know why we're sagging off so hard. But at the end of the day, they only gave up 22 to a very, very, very talented Ole Miss offense. I'm okay with that. I didn't like how it looked.
28?
It was super frustrating.
28.
I'm only giving them 22 because we fumbled on the 20-yard line, and then again.
That ain't their problem.
You don't. Ain't that football?
I mean, we can say 28. I'm still okay with that. That's fine. 28 with 6 in the last couple minutes off of some ridiculousness again by the offense. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of how they played defensively. I don't think it was really that bad considering how good Ole Miss is offensively and how I didn't like the scheme, but I think we can do better than that. Sitting back and then holding them to field goals when it's a short field in the red zone. Hey, that's remarkable. I'm glad y'all can hold them to field goals, but can we just not even get in that position? I didn't like the scheme, but if anything, our offense is definitely the problem. Our offensive play calling. My nigga, we threw 12 screens, completed 9 for like 30 yards. Like, what are we doing?
But when you can't control the line of scrimmage and you really don't got a deep passing game, you have to do screens or quick. Especially if I see this right, y'all ran 59 rushing yards on 1.8 yards attempt. When you can't run the ball, you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't get nothing deep. You have to go to screens and quick game. I mean, that's all you can do. You can't fault the offensive coordinator there because literally nothing else was working. So what do you do from there? So I mean,
I think our pass blocking was bad. It was the worst. It was the worst it's been. I don't think it's ever that bad to throw 12 screens, dog. And I think my problem is, Bob, regardless of how bad the offensive line was playing, I think we still would have threw them 12 screens. That's my problem.
Y'all would have.
That's my problem.
That could make more sense.
Y'all still would have threw them 12 screens because right now, y'all quarterback is not as good as I've been telling y'all. He's not as good as y'all been saying.
You can't put all of that on Beck, though.
No, I'm not putting it all on Beck, but that boy has turned into Mr. Discount Double Check because the team around him is not capable of making him look as elite as they were in the past few years. The receivers don't do what the receivers used to do. The receivers weren't elite receivers. That too.
We lead the nation in drops. So he's not Mr. Discount Double Check.
Bro,
like it's one of the fundamental parts of the game. You can either run it for a score or you can throw it.
Yeah, but he's not throwing the ball
he
past
can't throw because we
10,
can't
15
catch.
yards for real. He's not really throwing the ball past 10, 15 yards for real. Really,
I know, he's still averaging like 300 yards a game. He's throwing the ball, bro.
Shout out to the receivers for getting the yards after the catch.
Carlos, but like you said, you're giving them credit for giving them. You're giving them credit for giving them yak, but we're also leading the nation in drops. Yeah, so it's just like imagine the yak that they could get if they actually caught it.
But that's literally proving my point. Is the receivers around Carson Beck aren't capable of making Carson Beck look as good as they did in the past. Carson Beck's not doing anything to make these receivers phenomenal. The receivers make Carson Beck look phenomenal. He's not throwing anything past 10, 15 yards. He's throwing slant balls, screen balls.
So what college quarterback do you feel like does phenomenal, makes their wide receivers look phenomenal?
The one that just bust y'all last this weekend, Cam Ward.
Jackson Dart, hell no, but
you're out your fucking mind.
Cam Ward, I'll go for it a little bit, but Restrepo.
Them deep balls I watched Jackson Dart throw be on that money, boy. That's all I'm saying. I ain't seen.
Carson didn't help Ladd or Brock last year.
Carson's problem, honestly, is Georgia's run game. Any quarterback's going to look bad without a run game, and if you don't have a run game, once again, that doesn't help the O-line because now the defense knows you're passing. They're about to tee off. They're going to tee off on that boy. So, I mean, that's a big part of Carson's regression this year in addition to his decision-making. But, I mean, the run game is something that's significantly impacting him, to be honest.
There's nothing to protect him in any variation. Kind of like you just said, there's no run game. I agree. The O-line was supposed to be a strength, has not been a strength most of the year. This is super funny. Wide receiver group allegedly coming into the season was supposed to be the deepest wide receiver group that Georgia's had in a minute and is clearly terrible. Clearly.
They got y'all with that one.
Yeah. So so at this point now it's like, on one hand, is he playing well? Obviously not. But I also don't think he necessarily trusts the dudes to do anything. And I don't think that the offensive coordinator, because Carson has turned the ball over so much, not trusting his receivers as much, you're forced to, unfortunately, call 12 and 15 screens a game, which becomes predictable. So now people don't have to – people they can rush forward. They don't even have to call anything exotic.
I mean, that's how they got all their sacks. Ole Miss got all 5 sacks.
You rushing forward. Whooping ass. Don't have to call anything.
I'm I'm gonna say not trusting the receivers is crazy because I've seen him try to throw some shit into some spots where he should not be throwing that football.
No, that's facts.
That arm just not getting there. Like it's just he's just. But
I
I
don't
He's
think
think
the. I
he's
don't
he's
think
usually
it's about
not
fine.
arm
short.
talent. I
He's
think
not.
it's a bad
He doesn't.
decision.
He doesn't short arm it usually. He does. I will say he does throw into doubles
Yeah,
unnecessarily.
I don't want to. I don't want to attack his physical attributes. I think he's a good
He has
quarterback. I think he has a strong arm. I think the throws. It ain't about the arm. Why are
I
you
don't think
throwing
his
it
arm.
deep?
it's
I
more
don't
so
think his
why.
arm.
Yeah.
I don't think his arm is as strong as y'all giving him credit. I think. Okay, I think he
It
could
ain't
throw the
Matthew
football,
Stafford.
but he's not like. I think. Okay, let me not say
Bro.
Who's
if he
throws
needs to throw
on
the ball 70 yards, maybe he could get it 70 yards deep, but he doesn't throw those. But I just think like when I say his arm not as strong, like when I be watching plays and he be trying to squeeze it through two defenders because it be open for a second and I could see him trying to squeeze it to his receiver. But his arm is not strong enough to beam that ball like he be trying to throw a Mike Vick beam into that pocket to that receiver.
Yeah.
By the time
Sometimes
that
it don't
ball
matter how strong your arm is. If you late, you late.
it's
No,
a
no, no.
I
bad
think
He
it's
decision.
was
just late.
he was early. He was early on the throw. The throw would not have been a bad throw if he had the arm. He
Let me
just
tell you
does
something,
not have
brother.
the.
I've watched a highlight of his interceptions. None of them bitches should have been thrown. None of them
No,
by
no.
anybody.
So
Yeah, they
Not
should have.
not
No, 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 no,
not
no. I'm not gonna
not
say by
Ole Miss
anybody.
week, and especially not Florida week. Like
There's
none
some throws
of
that
them
should have
good
thrown.
decisions. He was late
None
on
of them
all
should have
of
been
them.
thrown by anybody. They're getting picked regardless. It was bad or
True.
tipped. It was
I
just
know some
bad.
quarterbacks that can
yeah, our
squeeze
tips
that
are
up in
mine.
there.
Yeah, you're out your mind. But we'll go ahead and move on to Alabama, a quarterback who, honestly, we thought he would have a tough game throwing. My boy Jalen Milroe, he only threw 18 passes, 12 or 18. I have to give it up to name twin Kalen DeBoer. I think this is what they should have been doing from the beginning. I think this is sounded like what they was going to do from the beginning. How they came in and gave a lot of hype to saying their offense was going to suit Jalen Milroe. This is the offense that suits Jalen Milroe. 12-18, 109 passing yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, 12 rushes, 185 yards. That's an offense that
Like
suits
Mike
to
Vick.
Jalen Milroe. How are we feeling about Alabama? What did they do? Can they even keep this up? That's the biggest part. Can they be consistent in this? Can they win like this against formidable opponents? Let's say other top 12 teams.
Hey, I just want to say, I told y'all that they would go into Bryant Denny West Stadium and handle business.
That's
And
valid.
lo and
You
behold,
did.
they handled business.
That's valid. I didn't see this. I did not see 18 passes by Jalen Milroe. I definitely didn't see 185 yards on the ground from him. Not that he can't do it. I didn't see Kalen DeBoer making this decision. If I'm
It's a
honest.
psychological thing at this point.
with Jalen Milroe, like I'm sorry, Jalen Milroe, because I still don't think he's that great. But honestly, he is great when the offense is schemed
He's a
to him, like
phenomenal
you just
athlete.
alluded to. Yeah, he's a great athlete.
Yeah,
The thing with him though is, I mean, I honestly don't see why people are surprised. Last year, he did the same exact thing. If you guys remember, he ran for like 155 and 4 touchdowns last year in that crazy game. Yeah, so I mean, he literally just did what he did last year against them. It's just that this year, LSU didn't have Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's literally the only difference I see. Like last year, the score was what 42-28. What was the score this year?
Jaden got hurt last year too. And actually, I
He
think
got
at
hurt.
the time LSU was winning when he got hurt.
This
Yeah.
year, I mean, last year was 42-28.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this year was 42-13. I mean,
So,
I
yeah.
honestly I forgot.
It's-
I mean, shout out to you for sure. I forgot how that game went last year.
Yes,
You know what?
so that's what I'm saying. Like it's literally the same thing he did. He really didn't do anything different from what he did. And I honestly don't think that they can continue to win this way, just because at the end of the day, there is going to come a time where you're going to have to throw that ball. And can we trust Jalen Milroe to throw that ball in crucial situations? And I would say no, because the evidence shows us no. I mean, he didn't do it against Michigan. I mean, so let's like.
That's early in the season, though.
I think it depends on the scheme.
That was early
how
what
you
we
play.
saw earlier in the season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it
but-
depends on the scheme.
I still don't see him change. He's still the same player that we saw from last year. Is basically what I'm saying. Nothing really changed. And unless Alabama opens up their passing game that they're going to need in the playoffs, then I don't see anything really changing for him.
I think depending on who you play, though, how they've designed these runs, and you have to respect it. I can see situations where he can throw. I mean, you got Ryan Williams. He's a freak. So I can see situations where you in 12 personnel and you got to respect Jalen Milroe rolling out, and now you got a bomb on your hands. Because he's going to be accurate deep. Now, that mid, I don't know. Throwing slants, comeback routes, it's no telling where that ball going sometimes. But on the deep ball, it's going to be accurate.
Yeah.
He's going to get a receiver a chance.
He's going to throw a dime on the deep ball typically.
So I can see they kind of are setting up a good offensive game plan where it's like, hey, them boys going to come out there in 12 personnel. You got these 5-star running backs out here blocking for this man, blocking for your quarterback. Like, you have to respect it, and they're blocking well. It's not some bull. Yeah. Like, they really out there running 12 personnel on you and trying to just...
What's the difference? But what my question, I guess, is what's the difference between this year and last year?
I think Kalen DeBoer, I think he has an offensive mind that will figure something out. That don't mean they're going to win.
Wait.
I think if anybody...
Nick Saban?
Huh?
Y'all acting like they didn't have Nick Saban, though. Like, I don't...
Nick Saban is not an offensive coach.
He's not, but he's going to get the team to where they need to be. I would still trust Nick Saban more than I would
over Kalen DeBoer offensively. I'm not saying they're going to win. I just feel like Kalen DeBoer is going to put, I'll put it like this, he's going to put Jalen Milroe in a position to win. Now, what he does with that, I don't know. But I think he'll be in the best position to make the most of the game, put some pressure on the defense, on the ground and in the air. I think we've seen it happen where, I mean, you have one secondary bust on him. You kind of cook for the rest of the game because now you're nervous and now they're going to take advantage of it. And we've seen how athletic he is, bro. It don't even matter if you cover everybody. Mess around and play man. He's going to take off on you. Play zone.
I think the biggest thing that we aren't factoring in with Nick Saban is Nick Saban would have looked at this team months ago and he would have been like, this shit isn't working. He would have changed everything within a week of practice. Everything about that team would have been changed and they would have tried something else until they figured it out, and they would have figured it out. When I tell you they would have figured that shit out fast. And it wouldn't have been all that. I think the problem with DeBoer is DeBoer has his offense and that's what they run, and it's just not. It either works or it doesn't work, and the times it works, it's really good. But I think Nick Saban would have. One thing about Nick Saban knew how to coach, and Nick Saban knew how to make changes and implement whatever strategies needed to be per weekly basis. And I don't think I see that from DeBoer.
He also wasn't healthy.
I don't know. I don't like that.
He also wasn't healthy the last couple of weeks, and he kind of had to adjust for that. And I think it was ironically because they were running him too much, which is funny because he ran for 4 touchdowns this time. Still ran for a decent amount. I think something to look at for them is to make sure that he stays healthy and he's not taking crazy hits the remainder of the season and potential postseason as well, because that in itself could be a bad thing where because he's taking so many hits, you're now forced to have him throw the ball. And I'm not saying that he can't throw through the air because obviously the deep balls work, but I don't think he's surgical.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I'm surgical with this shit, Jake. I don't think that's him.
No. I kind of disagree with your point, Los. I get what you're saying about Nick Saban, though. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer is Nick Saban or Nick Saban's next coming, none of that. But I think, if we look back at last year, it took them a while to figure it out, bro. They were looking pretty bad, and it took them a while to figure it out.
It just had to stop recording?
No, it's still recording.
No, it's still recording.
Your mic is just picking everything up.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, it took a long time for them to figure it out last year. I think this year, it took some time for... we also don't know if they figured it out for real. They beat LSU. That's all that really happened here. We don't know if they really figured it out. I don't think we'll know that for a little minute. I don't think the Auburn game damn sure ain't going to tell us. So they got Mercer left, Oklahoma, and Auburn. We probably won't know to the playoff, honestly, or the SEC championship if the chips fall that way. So I honestly probably got a little ahead of myself. We don't really know if they figured it out. But it seems like he kind of did the same thing that Saban did. Kept trying stuff, figuring it out. It's been a rough season for them, but they had a rough year last year. So I think their fans just don't like the Vanderbilt loss was probably the biggest thing, but I don't think they can be mad about the Tennessee loss. They spanked Mizzou. They won LSU. Y'all beat us, beat Georgia. I mean, it's not a bad year.
It's really not. I think that if they had just lost to Tennessee at home, granted, Alabama, that's probably Alabama's biggest rival, actually.
I think that's what they care about. I think that's what they care about the most because,
if,
I mean,
yeah, if you, I ain't gonna lie, if you ask old school Bama people, Auburn, the Iron Bowl isn't their biggest rivalry. It's Tennessee.
yeah.
But so that one is like nobody wants to lose to Tennessee because
the Iron Bowl definitely not hitting.
Tennessee fans they don't know how to quit, bro. They just oh god.
They are. All right, but we'll go ahead and move on. Talk about each conference, some of those games that went on. The ACC, of course, we already talked about how Georgia Tech beating Miami fares off in the conference championship race. Of course, Clemson barely beat Virginia Tech. Pitt, they lost to Virginia. Pitt plays Clemson this weekend, so of course we'll get to see how that is. As it's looking right now, of course, like we talked about earlier, it's SMU, Clemson, followed by Miami. Who do y'all see playing in that conference championship right now? Clemson plays Pitt this weekend, and then you have who do they have? Then you got Miami. They're playing at the end of the year against Syracuse. I think Pitt's definitely a bigger opponent for Clemson than Syracuse is for Miami. But where do y'all see the ACC championship looking like?
Like SMU has to be in there.
Miami, SMU. Miami, SMU.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I feel it. Los?
I think SMU has to be in there at this point. I don't think they have anybody in the rest of their schedule that would really factor into throwing them out of it at this point. I think that win over Pitt was a big win. And I think that was probably their Hey, there's some crazy stuff going on around me right now. I think Pitt was probably their toughest game left, and I think they handled that extremely well. So I think they have nothing else but, the road to the ACC championship at this point.
Yeah, and they just had last week off. They had a bye week. They played Boston College. Boston College not bad. They balanced, but they not good either.
But the craziest part about Boston College is they started so good early this season. Like I thought they were
They
going to be
did.
like,
They really did.
huh? You said they didn't?
No, so
Nah,
they did. They really
Oh,
did.
I thought you said
Everybody
they
said
did.
they
I was
did.
saying, I thought they started off great. They was, who they play early? Florida State. Well, Florida State obviously just completely downhill, but
They beat Florida State.
they beat the
They
dogs.
almost beat Mizzou.
Yeah, then
Yeah, they almost
and
beat
I was
Mizzou
like,
too.
man, Boston College is, low key sneaky good. This dual threat quarterback, and I don't know what happened to them, but they just completely fell off the face of the earth.
they
But
took 3 L's straight. Two on the road. Yeah, Virginia, then Virginia Tech, then they lost at home to Louisville. A good team. Louisville is a good team. I think Boston College is just a good balanced offense, and I mean, if you can run the ball and pass the ball decently, I think they're average. But you can do both. Average, that's smooth in the ACC. I mean, it's not like you're doing them above average, but I mean, what the ACC ain't above average, so they look pretty decent. I don't see them beating SMU, but I think it'll be a nice game to potentially watch. Maybe check in on. Anybody have anything different? What about you, B?
No, the same. SMU, Miami.
Who y'all got winning that right now?
SMU.
Pony Express.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more so an indictment on Miami's defense more than anything.
I
Honestly.
respect it.
And I kind of got to give credit to Rhett Lashley and SMU too. Like they went 11-3 last year to come into a new conference, which is supposed to be harder. Because they were in the AAC last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, to come into a conference, it's supposed to be harder. And
they admittedly kind of in the trap and took over the trap.
Yeah, basically, like you come in first year. Obviously, I do wish that with this realignment thing, people have more common opponents, unfortunately, or actually have divisions, which would create that aspect of being able to compare
transitive properties.
Yeah, anyway.
It's unfortunate. I mean,
it is very unfortunate, but the fact that they're able to come in win the conference the first year, possibly. We still don't know, but
Yeah,
the fact that that's even a possibility speaks a lot to the program that they are right now.
that's real. But we'll go ahead and move on to the Big 12. I think it's becoming more and more exciting. Like we talked about multiple weeks now, just talking about Colorado's chances, of course, to make it to the Big 12 championship. It's coming true. Them boys are definitely in a position. Iowa State helped them out a lot. I thought it would be Kansas State helping out Colorado by beating Iowa State. But it's a whole different ball game now. Iowa State, they helping Colorado out. They done took 2 L's in a row. We'll see what happens to them this weekend. But honestly, it doesn't matter. I think Colorado's pretty much a lock now. Colorado definitely should finish the season and win out and end up in the Big 12 championship. How are we feeling about the Big 12 as a whole? I think we all can kind of agree they're definitely not getting 2 teams, same way as the ACC is not getting 2 teams. But how do y'all feel about the Big 12? Of course, we're excited about Deion. Just what are we seeing for the conference championship coming up?
Like the way BYU's playing. I will say, yeah, they were in a rivalry game playing against Utah, but it would not. I don't know if y'all caught that game at all. Like any?
Yeah, I was up till 2 a.m. watching that.
Brother, that did you? That was kind of the wildest.
Man, Utah pissed me off. Let me just say that.
Utah, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here in front, but I will say I do. I'm not gonna say like Utah was cheated necessarily, but
that holding call.
Yeah, the holding call was kind of crazy, bro. Especially at the end, like you're supposed to. That should have ended the game essentially, and it did not. And they're able to drive down the field and kick a game-winning field goal. And in the Utah, I think the Utah athletic director, if I'm not mistaken,
he came out in
the post game. He got fined $40K.
Yeah, because he called out the Big 12 saying that they was playing favorites or whatever, and it was essentially it was robbed. Like we just moved to the Big 12.
He didn't say essentially we was robbed. He said we was
robbed. Nah, no cap.
Woo! Which is funny. And again, I mean, big rivalry game, so of course, emotions are very high and whatnot. But I'm curious if that transfers over this week when Utah plays Colorado.
And I think Colorado kills them. I think Colorado kills them at the end of the day. It's tough. I mean,
I don't know.
It's a debatable. It's a debatable call.
It's a morale blow too. I think the morale is down after that loss.
So I was gonna say, I think that plays a big part into it. Like, yeah, you could potentially ruin Colorado's season, but like the emotional drainage that you have from losing that rivalry game, you and then you got this other phenom. It's hard to get back up probably for that. If they had won, maybe they'd be up and we'd have a nice little battle going in. But
man, at the end of the day, them boys went scoreless in the second half. So it's like,
nasty work.
You got a chance to put them away. You got to put them away.
Second half. What do y'all expect? Y'all scored 0 points, dog. I don't want to hear it. One play did not decide that game. Y'all scored 0 points in the second half. That's on y'all. It sucks, but it's on y'all. Of course, we'll have Colorado BYU. I'm going to go ahead and, y'all didn't want to make y'all locks early. I picked Colorado before they was even in the top 2. So, you know what I'm saying?
I'm going prime. I told y'all. Y'all he was getting thugged to the game, though. I told y'all he was getting thugged to the game.
I want to see it. We'll see.
Was he there?
Nah. That was on the road.
Hey, it's coming soon. It's in the works.
We'll see.
In the works. But that was on the road, so he wasn't going to be at that game. But
it was on the road.
Maybe he'll be there this week. We'll see if Thugger pop out, though. But moving on, we'll go ahead and talk about the college football playoff more in depth as we talk about the Big Ten and SEC simultaneously, because honestly, the top 12 is just a Big Ten versus SEC classic, just like they do in college basketball at the beginning of the year, honestly. It's the Big Ten SEC Challenge. We're going to have the ACC. We'll have one Big 12 and an independent and a group of 5. So we'll see. Honestly, how it's sitting right now, of course, Big Ten, shout out to y'all. Y'all handle business. No real competition necessarily, but at the end of the day, y'all handle business. Oregon won. Indiana won. A close one to Michigan. Shout out to Michigan for giving them a little test run. And, of course, Penn State won. Ohio State, they handle business as well. So you got 4 teams sitting there right now looking like they can get into the playoff for from the Big Ten. And then, of course, we're looking at the SEC. SEC, we kind of got to sit and wait. You got Ole Miss. You got UGA. Of course, you got Alabama and you still got Mizzou, 2 losses. All those teams have 2 losses, but their losses only come from SEC schools. And then, of course, you got Texas and Texas A&M sitting with 1 loss. They play at the end of the year. I mean, you got Tennessee, too. It's just, how many teams do y'all see coming from each conference, if we're being real?
4.
4 probably
4 each.
from the SEC. I think the Big Ten, it'll come down to how does Indiana play Ohio State. Because, like I said before, I think Penn State is kind of virtually locked in because their hardest opponent was Ohio State. They took the L, whatever, but they're going to finish with 1 loss. Now, are they like a top 5 team? No, but they're going to finish with 1 loss.
Who's not a top 5 team?
I don't think Penn State is a top 5 team, but they're going to finish with 1 loss.
I got you. Bob, do you feel like Ohio State would be in the playoff if they lose to Indiana?
I'd give them their second loss, kick them out the champion. It's going to be a debate. I think they're going to the debate's going to start like, hey, is Ohio State 2-loss better than a Alabama 2-loss, or is it better than they're going to compare it to an SEC 2-loss team, essentially. It's tough. I really don't know. I think that favoritism to the SEC is going to be there, and I think they're going to put an SEC team in over an Ohio State if it comes down to that, to be completely honest with you.
I disagree. Yeah.
You disagree? What do you think, dude?
I think if Ohio State has 2 losses, especially if they lose to Indiana, Indiana, I think in the AP poll is ranked what? 5th? Yeah, you've now lost 2 top 5 matchups. It also depends on how they lose. But again, in the playoff, it's a big brand. They're going to put them in. Like, they may just not be in the top 8. They may not host a home game, but they will be in that top 12. I promise you. I'm just saying.
So,
and they have a top 5, and they technically have a top 5 win going to Penn State and beating them.
Yeah.
So you got to take that into
consideration. I'm just trying to think like the committee.
They're gonna put Ohio.
They're putting them in, bro. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm not. Because I think they could get in, honestly. But I'm also trying to think at the same time of the other teams behind them, like
the other two lost teams from the SEC.
Who are we talking about?
Not even the 2 lost teams from the SEC. I'm just talking about other teams, like a Notre Dame. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Notre Dame's not getting in over Ohio State, though.
That does shake it up.
Okay. Again, I'm going to just be as nice about this as I can. I think with a 12-team playoff, they've kind of done this to themselves. Yes, you got your 4 conference champions, but at that point, they're going to, with these networks, especially with them being on different, they're not all on ESPN. I don't think people realize that either.
No, they're not.
So they're going to go by who are the big brands that are still
that's true.
Great football. A 2-loss Ohio State team versus like if you were able to get like a 2-loss Ohio State versus a 2-loss Georgia, you're gonna have that game regardless. Notre Dame with 1 loss, you're going to, even though they need to join a conference, they're going to put them in, even though people feel like Notre Dame is not a great team or whatever. These teams.
I could see them. I could see Ohio State getting in over a 2-loss Miami if they lose in the conference championship as well. So no, I see where you're coming from with that.
But I will say, if Miami hadn't lost and if they had lost in the championship, ACC championship game,
then that can
putting Miami in because again, there are eyes on Miami, and you have a Heisman finalist potentially on that team. I think it comes down to somewhat matchups of like who you want to have in some of the players. I will be shocked if they leave out some of these bigger brand teams with 2 L's. Truthfully,
I think they're going to be in a tough position though, because just looking at it,
that's their fault.
It is what, for sure. It is what it is. As far as how many, I think it's pretty scary how many 2-loss SEC teams there are and could potentially just remain that way. I mean, Mizzou's out. Like,
once again, this is why they should have done divisions. I'm not tripping about expansion and all that necessarily. I don't think
divisions. I don't think
it would have created more clarity than having this many 2-loss teams.
I don't think divisions would have changed anything. The divisions would have made it clearer today who's going to be in the SEC championship, but I think the 2 losses going to still be 2 losses.
But these tiebreakers and all these conferences are
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but instead of 5 computations or possibilities or outcomes or 6, it's just 2.
It's 2.
I don't think any of that had. Oh well, I'm saying like
it makes it more clear.
College football playoff at all.
To me, that makes it more clear cut though, because it's like, all right, I now know who are my 2 teams in the conference championship game. All right, cool. This team took an L, but they got in there because they smacked everybody in their division. Got it. This team got in because they smacked everybody in the division. I might put both of them in regardless of the result of that game. Cool. I'm content with those 2. Might do that with the Big Ten as well.
I got a question though.
Go ahead, Bob.
Do you think one loss BYU in the championship to Colorado gets them?
No, they're
Woo.
going to be one Big 12 team and one.
Okay, I'm sorry. In regards to if Ohio State loses to Indiana, so if Ohio State's a 2-loss team, you think they'll put them in?
No, they're only putting SEC teams, dog. No.
I'm just asking.
It's too many.
I don't think you kick BYU out for 1 loss. I don't think
in the championship. That's why I'm asking.
You have to give them that representation. They don't get 1 loss because this shit automatically turns to bullshit as soon as you don't put them in with 1 loss.
If you don't put them in, honestly,
you already did Florida State dirty because you didn't like that they didn't have a starting quarterback and they wouldn't look good to you off of eye test. That was all you could give them off of eye test. Did they get cooked by Louisville? Absolutely. But regardless, everybody said they didn't want to play and blah, blah, blah. You tell BYU with 1 loss in a conference championship game that they don't make the playoffs when they're sitting top 10 in the
over a 2-loss,
yeah, you don't put them in, it's gonna be a problem. That makes no sense.
Who was there?
We all just agreed to playing identity politics and the brand game. We just all agreed that that's what's been going on. That's exactly how Georgia got burned last year. Our brand wasn't big enough.
I don't think that's. I don't
that
think
we lost by 3 in the conference.
But I don't think Georgia's brand is not why they made Georgia's brand is not why they made a 12-team playoff. So you guys could get in with 2 losses. With one to Ole Miss versus BYU not being able to get in with 1 loss in a conference championship. That's absurd.
I'm just saying, keep the proper context, Carlos. The same thing how BYU would fall short by losing in their conference championship game when the rest of the country is not playing is the same way what happened to us last year. You have to qualify for this game. Everybody doesn't even get it.
But the difference is this is 12 teams.
The difference is it's a whole 8 additional teams.
Yeah.
And saying they're not getting in because of 1 loss in a conference championship versus y'all not getting in.
The other side of that coin,
that is completely different.
That's different.
The other side of the coin is that the committee could do something unprecedented. That was the other side. Like
that's
the whole point of the premise. It's like they did that to us last year, unprecedented for number 1 to lose in the last weekend and fall to number 6. Unprecedented. So they did that to BYU. We're not saying it's right. We're just saying it can motherfreaking happen. And it would be unprecedented.
Yeah, we're not saying that it's right. I think all we're saying is, Carlos, you got way too much
brands in what they've showed us in the past. They would definitely do that. They could definitely do something like that.
I'm going to slightly contradict myself a little bit, though. So I'm going to slightly contradict myself a little bit. Last year, Georgia allegedly got held out because our schedule wasn't that great. And even though we hadn't lost in like 40-something games or whatever, and we won 2 championships, and you play Bama, lose by 3, and they drop us to 6, which is crazy. I think this year, with these results, we are genuinely about to find out if it's worth it scheduling really hard out of conference schedule games, because that's one of the things that it said too. That's what's something that teams kind of did looking towards the future. Like, all right, look, I'm going to schedule harder games because if I got 2 L's or if I got 3 L's, because I guarantee you at some point somebody's going to get in with 3 L's with the way the playoffs is going.
Well,
I'm not saying this year.
Not soon, but it's going to happen.
It can happen.
It will eventually happen in a year. But basically,
that also says that the game, that also says a lot about the rest of the teams too. So,
but I'm just saying, think about this. If you got, let's say you lose 1 game in conference, you lose 1 game out of conference, but those are 2 strong L's because you're your conference is difficult, and the out of conference team you played is also a top tier team.
I think it matters what everybody else got going on.
But I'm saying I think this is going to start altering like who people schedule, because we just shitted on Mizzou at the beginning of the year for having a pie schedule, and then they struggled throughout the year, and they got 2 L's, two losses or 3 losses.
2.
They have 2 losses, but is anybody really considering putting Mizzou in the playoff? Absolutely not.
I mean, because it's, again, the same thing with BYU. Who was your best win? BYU sitting at 9. They beat Utah by 1 point. They're not moving from
their
9.
Their best win right now is actually SMU. And that's if SMU. If they lose, I will say this is something that'll keep them in. If they lose the conference championship game to Colorado, even if it's 7 or less, but SMU wins the ACC, they probably could put them in because they beat
BYU has to. Yeah,
I don't think you have. Why do you have? I'm confused. Why y'all have this much space? Are y'all saying they should do that, or y'all really think they about to do that?
I find it hard. I don't know.
You find it hard?
Bro, my thing is they have to do that just to be consistent.
I just don't think
That's how they felt about Georgia. They have to.
Bro, we
no. But it's different.
It was a 4-team.
It was a 14-team
playoff. Y'all are comparing a 14-team playoff to a 12-team playoff that was created just so these other conferences can have representation, bro.
Carlos, they're at number 9. They just beat Utah by 1 point. Do you think they're going to be at 9 or 10? Because it ain't.
But no.
Ranked at the beginning of the season.
They're actually. I think they're going to drop to like 7.
Huh?
I think BYU is going to drop to 7 because think about who lost under them.
They don't have to, bro. You also have Ole Miss jumping in, so it's not like they're just going to move them up just because Ole Miss is going to be higher than them.
There will be SEC.
No,
I don't know.
Ole Miss is not going to be higher than them just off of that win alone.
I think Ole Miss only dropped to like 10 or 11.
No, they're gonna move far.
They're gonna be
right outside the top 10. Bro.
Because you got to remember, Miami also lost. Miami's gonna drop, leaving spots to move up.
Miami lost to an unranked team. You're not going to move
unranked team. That's what I'm saying.
You're not moving Ole Miss up and BYU down after a win. You're not moving BYU down just because.
I don't think you have to move BYU back.
But you don't move Ole Miss above them just because they won against Georgia. You don't just automatically jump them like that.
How does a 2-loss team jump an undefeated team?
Right, like what are we talking about?
Strength of schedule.
Indiana.
No.
You can't say that.
Indiana's already up there. Indiana's above BYU.
There's only one team.
They're 8 and 9. They're 8 and 9. You can't separate them at this point.
But my thing is, where you start has a lot to do. Y'all don't think if they take somebody from 1 to 6, they wouldn't take somebody from 8, 9, 10 to 13?
This is not the same thing.
Okay, listen. To your point, it's strength of schedule, right? So Indiana and BYU are connected in the rankings right now. They're 8 and 9. So my thing is, if Indiana moves down, BYU has to move up with them. Is what I'm saying. Like BYU has to be connected to Indiana until they lose. So you can't have a team jump them if they're not going to jump Indiana as well.
No, I feel
there's no way we say Indiana doesn't move. I mean, there's no way we say BYU doesn't move up when the only team Indiana has played has been Michigan. If we're talking about strength of schedule,
yeah, the only thing
BYU should be over Indiana, honestly.
The only thing I will say, I think, what is Indiana? Indiana is 5 in AP,
they're
right?
8. They're what?
They're 5. They are 5 in AP.
No, college football, they're 8.
Yeah, they're 8. I don't care about that.
I mean, last week they were 8.
Yeah,
they were 8 last week. We'll find out tomorrow.
I will say, I think that would be. This is when I know we talk about like SEC bias. I don't know if Indiana's the number 5 team in the country right now. Personally, I do think they're.
Where
good.
did that come?
But I'm just saying, I think it's propped up for them to play Ohio State a little bit.
I mean, yeah, but honestly, once you put out the college football playoff rankings, they stop on the TV screen. They're not going to put number 5 next to Indiana. They're going to put whatever the college football playoff ranking is now. It don't matter what the AP says for real. They're number 8. I don't know where they're going to be next week. I mean, this week, tomorrow. I think another thing y'all are forgetting is right now, the top 4 is not what the top 4 will really be like. So you got, let's just say, just for hypotheticals, Ohio State loses to Oregon again. Cool. They got to take up some spot between 5 and 12. Colorado, we're forgetting. If Colorado beats BYU, Colorado has to take up a spot and kick somebody else off because of the
So it's
conference.
only 7 spots. Grant said 4. It's 7.
Like,
because
it's not that many spots.
the
It's not like
5
BYU
automatic.
is losing. BYU's not losing to somebody already in the top 12. That would give them more room because you got somebody who's already taken up a spot in the 12. They just moving up to the top 4. Colorado's not even in the top 12. So if they lose to them, who they kicking out? Like, BYU's not gonna be in there, dog.
You can't say that though.
See it. I don't even know if we're gonna see it. BYU can handle business against Colorado. But
by the time Colorado's in the conference championship, they're going to be higher than whatever they're ranked now. Obviously,
Yeah,
potentially.
They're going to move down this week.
Hey, y'all lose another game, they're gonna kick y'all out.
I mean, of course. But what? That's not gonna happen.
I mean, we might as well make our rankings since we talking about it.
Yeah, we can get on off. We already know we got Oregon number 1. We don't have to do too much there. Who do y'all have at number 2? Of course, last week was Ohio State.
Keep them there. Keep them there.
All right.
Leave Ohio State.
Here's my gripe. Here's my gripe, though. This is my gripe.
All right, who do we have number 3? We'll just go.
Texas is not number 3 to me. The
Who
gripe.
said Texas was number 3?
They're currently.
I think they're 3.
We're going off.
I'm gonna tell you why they should not be.
GP, we're going off a college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, we're not. Stop talking about the AP, please.
Tennessee has a bigger gripe to be at number 3 over Texas, in my opinion.
So who is your number 3?
Tennessee.
BT.
I don't care. I mean, either one of them. I mean, to me,
I think they're interchangeable.
Somebody got to be a placeholder. I mean,
hey, I'm with that. I'm with that too.
So Tennessee, who you got, Bob? Texas.
3 Texas.
I would say.
I'll say 3, 4 Texas, Tennessee are interchangeable to me.
Can I ask why you would put Texas over Tennessee? I'm just.
He said it's interchangeable.
They were. Texas was over them last week. They were 5 last week.
Texas had AP top 25 wins, and they lost to
GP. I'm going off of what the college football playoff ranking says right now. The voters already put Texas at 5. The voters aren't going to have Tennessee jump from 7 to 3 over Texas. They were 5 last week. That just doesn't make sense to me.
For no reason.
I get what you're saying. You're saying what should happen. I get it, but I'm just you got to think like with the voters and how they already have it.
You have to have reason. You can't just go put people. No. You can't just take Tennessee didn't do nothing this past Saturday for them to jump 4 spots to number 3.
And the quarterback got hurt.
All I'm gonna say is they've beaten Alabama, who has done nothing but beat a bunch of other teams.
They didn't do nothing this past week to take them from Texas 7 to 3,
and they lost their quarterback
because they're at number 7 based off of them beating Alabama. They already gave you credit for beating Alabama.
What did Texas do this week that was so spectacular?
Huh?
What did Texas do this week that was spectacular? They beat Florida. They should have beaten Florida. Okay.
Only reason people are moving up is because Georgia lost and Miami lost. It's not like they did anything. Somebody got to move.
But why? Okay, GP. Why does Tennessee jump them? Why does Tennessee jump them this week? Randomly?
They got more wins in the top 25, in my personal opinion, than Texas does.
This week, though? Like, why this week randomly out of all weeks?
I'm personally not putting Texas.
So basically, you're saying you don't even believe that they should have been 7 to begin with. Tennessee should have been higher than 7, and Texas should have been lower than 5. They should have swapped.
Yeah, probably.
That's okay. That makes sense.
That's the only way your premise makes sense.
Yeah, that's the only way. Because they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything.
That was wrong initially.
Who do you have at 3, Los? Texas or Tennessee? Or somebody else?
I mean, like BT said, I could also care less. They can honestly put somebody else there. I don't think anybody in the range of 3 to 5 win the championship at all anyway.
I feel.
That's just me, though.
All right, I'll braid the tie.
I would personally also say give it to Texas over Tennessee, though, because...
Yeah, I'm going to be the tiebreaker. I'll go Texas over Tennessee there just because I just don't think... I think Tennessee is just...
To Grant's argument, though, Alabama beating LSU the way they did does, but still, you can't just jump.
LSU's at 15.
Randomly.
They have beaten LSU. So Alabama's beaten LSU. They've beaten Georgia. They've beaten South Carolina, and I'm missing one. They've beaten somebody else.
I think it is
South
what
Florida.
it is, though. I think
South Florida.
Nah,
I think
I'm
with,
missing.
That was a tough one.
Tennessee with
Nah,
Tennessee,
I'm missing one.
Wait, what?
I said I'm missing one that they've beaten.
I mean, it's a great resume.
Oh yeah, and they beat Mizzou. They spanked Mizzou.
Who's Tennessee's lost to?
Tennessee's lost to Arkansas, which is really the only reason
Okay,
that's
so
holding them back.
that's where it comes down to then. Who has the worst loss, Tennessee or Texas?
Yeah.
Whose loss is worse? That's what it comes down to.
I will say the only thing that'll help Texas in this argument is Texas plays Arkansas this week. So if they beat the shit out of Arkansas, then I'll understand more of y'all being like, "Oh, Texas should be over Tennessee." I'm just saying. But
I mean, to me, the SEC in that game also in particular is about matchups. So Arkansas ain't telling me that. I just want to see you beat a good team. So when you play Texas A&M, that'll matter to me. I don't know. I mean, we can go off. These are the college football playoff rankings. We can set our own standard. We're setting our own standard, our own precedent here at the Saturday Sanctuary. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily all for the best loss overall. I'm not going to say I'm ranking everybody based off of best loss. But in that case, if we go best loss in eye talent, I mean, based off of eye test, sorry. I mean, Texas just looked better to me. Tennessee always looked like blah. Like, they look like a shell of themselves offensively most times. Last week, they had it rolling. I'm not going to lie. But it seemed like they kind of took their foot off the gas. So I don't know if they feel like they need to save something for Georgia or what. But I don't know. For now, I do feel like Texas, Tennessee.
We playing nice with Texas because they whooping everybody ass with that weak-ass schedule. And the only team
Hey, but you doing it. Tennessee.
I'm just saying.
Tennessee's not really whooping anybody, though.
He lost to a weak-ass Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas is weak.
Tennessee beat Bama, who is dragging everybody right now.
Who is Tennessee whooping, though? Like you also got to look at the eye test. Like, we talk about Quinn Ewers and Texas offense. Like, they look really good. We're not going to say that Tennessee looks better in offense than Texas.
That's true.
There's not too many teams whose offenses actually look better than Texas, admittedly.
So what are we talking about?
All right, we'll move on. We got number 5. Of course, last week things were different. We moved everybody up because Georgia and Miami lost. Penn State was sitting at that 6th spot in between Texas and Tennessee. Of course, we'll go Texas 3, Tennessee 4. Who's going to go at 5? Y'all just going to put Penn State there?
I can put Penn State there. I can stick with Penn State there. They're not going to do anything. They're literally not going to do anything for the rest of the year and be a top 5 team.
Potentially.
That's crazy.
I mean, I don't think that they are bad. I just think that they.
I'm not.
No, it's just like you lose. You lose. You're gonna lose. You lose to Ohio State. You lose to Oregon. I'm trying to think of the teams that I actually take over Penn State.
It's not even about. I'm not even talking about how they play. I just think we're underestimating how much the committee sucks off Ohio State. They're going to put Ohio State, a 2-loss Ohio State conference championship loss in front of Penn State. They'll be number 5. They'll be number 5.
I'm going to be honest, that'd be disrespectful.
I don't believe that. I do not
believe that.
I'm not certain. I'm going to be honest. I'm not certain, but the fact that Ohio State did beat Penn State might actually cause that to happen.
How you going to put them over them? Tell me how.
Because they got one loss.
Then you get into the argument of, dang, y'all punishing me because I played in the conference championship.
I do believe it. I believe it.
I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
And I'm
actually very ready to
State.
See that.
It's the perfect recipe for Ohio State.
Because they got Alabama back over a lot of teams they shouldn't be over. So I believe it.
Hello.
I'm not gonna lie.
Bob, they did that on purpose. That's why they ranked Bama after they destroyed Mizzou. Just so the transitive properties of all of them have Alabama up in there. The brands, bro. The brands matter. You can't tell me the dollars don't make sense.
My recording keeps stopping and starting.
As long as they in the atmosphere.
But
go ahead.
My recording keeps stopping and starting weirdly. But I think a lot of these responses sounding extremely hurt and biased because of what the committee did to Georgia last year. Y'all starting to sound like Florida State a little bit. I ain't gonna lie to you, Chief. You know what I'm saying?
What is us thinking?
You know what I'm saying? Y'all starting to sound like
this is
how Florida State was sounding last year. But I'm just saying, I'm not here to ruffle any feathers or stir up the brothers. I'm just saying. I think we can all agree that the committee made some pretty fuck decisions last year, and we can hope that they just make better sound decisions. Everybody they mess up every now and then. Last year they messed up. You know,
I don't think they messed up. I think they did what
They were fine last year, honestly.
they did what they wanted to do. I don't even think
we
anybody's
just
tripping.
spent
I
we
think
just
you did
spent
something unprecedented.
we just spent 15 minutes arguing about how y'all went from 1 to 6, and y'all did not agree with that. Come on now. Did they mess up? Do y'all agree or what? What
But
are we
we're
doing?
talking about that, and you're bringing that back up. I'm saying, why do y'all think they will do that and not drop BYU simply 3-4 spots?
It's a different.
If they
different,
lose,
it's a different playoff system. That's the only thing I can.
what is that? I think
It has
y'all are
a
missing
lot.
the
I'm
fact
telling
that
you,
if they lose,
It has a lot to
somebody
do with
else
it.
has to come into the 12. Where
Again,
it's not enough spots.
I'm a big fan of saying, like I said, I am a believer that the brands will take over and like the bigger matchups or whatever. But the entire reasoning of you installing a 12-team playoff was so it could hypothetically be more fair. However, what everybody that is a Big Ten fan, or I guess like a Michigan, Ohio State, even Oregon, or anybody in the SEC was telling you, all this is going to do is turn it into the SEC Big Ten Invitational. I'm personally interested in seeing if there's going to be pushback from that, because if you put in 5 SEC teams, which wouldn't necessarily be crazy because they've been beating up on each other this year, so you got a bunch of teams and whatnot. That is going to be interesting compared to these other conferences that have 1L, or it's like, oh, I went undefeated my entire season, but I lost in the conference championship. You're gonna have some shit on your hands, and it's your fault.
Only thing that we're highlighting is you and Grant, you and Los keep saying that it's a different system. It's a different system, but the principle is still the same. Is we highly value.
No, because
Here's
the reason
Grant, you just said that. I definitely think the brands are gonna. The brands matter last year. The brands are
the
gonna matter
brands do
this
play a
year.
part, but the 12-team system was not made for the SEC to get in teams, as many teams as they can.
Carlos, it wasn't about the SEC. It was all about inclusion of other brands.
Exactly. So
Here's
why would
where
they not include
The
BYU?
brands. That's what it's about.
Here's
Carlos,
where
just real quick, then I'll shut up. It's literally about the inclusion of other brands. That's why Georgia did not get in last year. The last time a Pac-12 member was in the playoff was its inception, 2016, when Alabama beat the brakes off Washington. So nobody wants to keep watching Clemson, Bama, Georgia, the entire Southeast. You're killing TV dollars. Dollars make sense. Give me Michigan. Give me Texas. Give me Washington. Keep little old Georgia in
So
Athens. So what we're saying is
throwing BYU
people
out?
kept arguing about the playoff because, oh, we don't have a choice. We don't have an opportunity. They just opened the door, 7 more spots for more brands to get in.
Why would they?
So like you said, it's not about the
kick out an undefeated team for a loss in a conference championship? Is what we're saying. If it's about the inclusion of other
They're no
brands,
longer undefeated.
but they have 1 loss. They put you.
We said
we're saying they might do
losses,
that only until it benefits
But
them.
make this make sense.
I
They
just wanna
put
see if they're
Georgia
gonna
in with
be
2 losses, kick out BYU with 1 loss, but it's about the inclusion of other brands. How does that even click?
Yes.
How does that make
Carlos,
sense?
is the Utah TV market that big of a deal? Or would you rather have a school that makes $250 million annually just off football? And the only team that's beating them is Michigan, Bob, and Ohio State. So we say dollars make sense. So like we're not worried about AJ DeBanza at BYU and you giving them $4.5 million to help their NIL fund. We're talking about the big boys at this time, was helping was
Currently, right now, they are the big boys because they got 0 losses and y'all got 2, so they stay.
All right, but anyway, so let's just do numbers. Let's put something on it. And in all honesty, let's just say BYU loses 1 game.
They're in. I don't care
You
what
have
number they
your
are.
automatic 4.
But see,
you have
so
your automatic.
so
Hold on. You have your automatic 4s. Who we've just sat here and said it's going to be 4 Big Ten teams.
Automatic
SEC
fives.
teams.
5
Automatic
five.
five.
So
Five
who is
automatic.
not gonna make it then? Tell us who are they gonna kick out?
So here's
They're definitely getting 4 Big Ten teams in simply due to this fact. Oregon's getting in if they win the conference, or whoever's winning the conference is getting in.
We're at 9 now, so we only got 3 more spots.
I'm saying, hear me out. One of Oregon or Ohio State's winning that conference. Period. I just don't see Indiana winning that joint.
Okay.
Penn State is going to get in because they've only played one game that they lost, but they're not going to lose any other games. You're going to be 12-1, and people are going to be like, you're not leaving out a 12-1 Penn State. That is a national brand, historic brand or whatever. They're getting in. Indiana with 1 L, that's when it starts getting shaky a little bit, in my opinion. But I think because Indiana ain't got no brand in terms of football, but you have 1 L and your L was to Ohio State. So you need to pray that Ohio State wins the conference actually, because that boosts you up if you lose to them. That helps you. That makes you look a lot better.
All right, but let's speed this up.
So we're at 9. So where's the other 3?
Making it? Because
hold on really quick, because this is what we're also forgetting. Yes, this is the first year of the 12-team championship, so which also means it's the first year for them to set a precedent. We're basing our precedent off of what they did in the 14 playoff, which is understandable because at the end of the day, it is the same committee voting. But they also have opportunity right now, to Glossa's point, to, hey, we want to include teams because of what happened to Florida State to change that precedent. So, I mean, with that being said, if BYU loses 1 loss in the conference championship to a Colorado who's probably going to be ranked in the top 15 by then, you can't knock them out, honestly, if they want to set that precedent.
Saying that. Who are they putting out?
Yo,
tell me who they're putting out.
They put
a two-loss team.
Why
it could be y'all, no cap.
Because you got 2 losses.
Any two-loss team.
Okay.
We have to fast forward. If we had 2 losses, we'd still be good because that just means we just beat the number 6 ranked Tennessee.
And my thing is,
exactly.
If y'all's math is still mathing, we'd be good. So we wouldn't kick us out because we just beat the top 16.
But my thing is,
and then they also
nobody has. But why does somebody have to be out? Because they're still going to be. They're in the top 10.
Somebody has to come in. If BYU loses, Colorado has to take up a spot.
No, Colorado takes the automatic.
Takes an automatic.
Yeah, but I'm saying they take
so like I said, so now they become one of the 5 guaranteed.
5. So BYU could still be in, is what I'm saying.
No, what y'all are missing, there's already 12 teams right now with BYU in. Who's coming out so Colorado can come in? Somebody got to move.
Wait,
it's chalk hole.
I think
Colorado's not going to be. They're not in the top 12.
I think the problem is
who's coming
you're
out?
automatically
Ole Miss.
You're automatically including people who aren't automatically in this shit still.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. You're including.
I'm not talking about. I'm sorry, guys. Off of what we've said, 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams. That's 8 spots already taken.
That's also still a hypothetical. There's no guarantee
that's no hypothetical.
There's no guarantee that there's no guarantee anybody gets 4 teams.
I'm going based off of what y'all just said. So I'm saying
we just got to think about 12. Just think about 10 to 12 teams fighting for 7 spots. That's how we have to think.
Yeah,
not because 5 guaranteed gonna happen, and they're gonna come from all of the conferences. So it's 10 to 12 teams for 7 spots.
And that's what I'm saying. Who's not going to be in there? So how many out of those 7 spots? How many y'all say it's going to be 4 Big Ten teams? So 3 of those 7 spots are already Big Ten. So now it's 4 spots left.
I think this is when it starts down to who did you.
So let's talk about this then. Does a 1-loss BYU get in over a Notre Dame?
I don't care.
No,
I don't think so. Because you damn sure not kicking the Notre Dame brand.
Why not though? Because at that point, Notre Dame has a terrible loss versus BYU's loss.
I'm okay with it. I just don't think they would do it. If you talk about
that's my answer, by the way, is Notre Dame. I'll kick Notre Dame out and put BYU in over a 1-loss Notre Dame.
I'm just proving the point. They're not moving the SEC out the way for BYU, dog.
If we win out, which 1 game at a time, all we got to do is take care of Tennessee first, then Georgia Tech. Black Friday. If we win out, I think that we would be in position to still make the playoffs. Not necessarily SEC championship, all that, but I think we would make the playoff as a 10-2 team, and we just beat the team ranked number 6 or number 7.
respect.
And let's just also say before you, because I know what you're about to say, Los. Let's take Georgia out of it. Let's say Georgia don't make it. You still got Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss. So it ain't even about
You
Georgia,
probably
dog.
thought A&M.
It's about
Why is A&M still in there?
You probably thought A&M unless they beat
Yeah,
Texas.
A&M's out.
Why are they out?
I say you probably throw them out of that situation unless they beat Texas.
But they beat Texas.
They
They got to beat Texas, yeah. If Texas lose, that changes the game.
If Texas lose, that changes the game.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think so.
It changes the game because your conference championship is going to look way different.
I don't think it changed. It changed the game for Texas. I don't think it changed the game for the numbers of the SEC. Like, I'm just saying, who are y'all not putting in to keep it from being? Y'all are basically saying it's not going to be 3 SEC teams in those last 7 spots. It's going to be 2.
It could not be, bro. It very well could not be. You niggas losing too much.
It could, and that's my point of saying they have the chance to change that precedent this year.
I'm saying,
I said,
who are you keeping out though? That's my thing. Who are you keeping out?
Who cares?
Nobody.
I just said Notre Dame.
Any team?
No, I'm talking about SEC. That's
Any
what I'm saying.
any team with more losses than BYU can get thrown out because who cares? The point of the 12-team expansion was to have inclusion. If that was the point of making a 12-team playoff, the point was to include other teams that were good from other conferences. Boom, you include the teams that were good from other conferences.
They gonna say we did that. We brought in Boise State. That's what they finna tell y'all.
And they gonna bring in BYU, and they gonna bring in SMU, and they gonna bring in, and they gonna
SMU gonna win.
They gonna get rid of some of these extra teams. They gonna have 4 or 5 teams.
If you are not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you have no excuse to have 2 losses.
So let's say Ohio State, Oregon, let's say Indiana, or Penn State. Let's say Big Ten has 4, right? And then we got Texas, we got Tennessee. You said if you guys don't make it, okay, so we got Alabama, and then we got either Ole Miss or, I mean, I think that's it for real. Because if you guys don't make it, that will at least 4 more teams for y'all.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna. I ain't gonna lie. This weekend is another elimination game, kind of like how you just got booted for playing Bama. That was an elimination game for both of them teams.
For LSU.
It's like this one is more of an elimination game if Georgia loses. But knocking Tennessee down to 2 L's would suck. But they would have lost to a 2-loss team in Georgia, and they would have lost to Arkansas, which is a horrible loss. And that's when I think you start possibly eliminating teams if they have the same record. Is who is your best win? But you start looking at them losses. If your losses were to 2 teams that were within like the top 15 or within the top 10, I'd be more inclined to put you into the playoff personally, as opposed to you had an unranked loss and then you had a top 10 loss. That's shaky.
I mean, this was fun argument. I really just wanted to have an argument, but I think it'll be interesting just to see. It'll be interesting just to see. It all just matters where they rank these teams, because you got Ole Miss, you got Alabama. They 2 lost, but they don't lose again. They already in the playoff. BYU loses, you can't move them.
When you lose,
that's why I'm saying, like, you can't move them. Let's just say Alabama don't lose again. Ole Miss don't lose again. You're not gonna move them. But you got to move BYU. You ain't going to keep them right there because, again, somebody got to come.
There's no way to that. It's no way. I mean, it is a way, but I don't think they do that. And if they, to be honest, I think it's going to be the funniest shit ever. And they put 3 teams in from the Big Ten, 2 teams in from the SEC, and they be like, yeah, rush y'all niggas need to play better.
Everybody else is up for grabs.
Hey, I'm up for it, but then
I actually want to see them again. I want to see if the committee has the audacity.
I'm gonna say that is so respectable.
I'm genuinely saying that. I would actually respect them for it a little bit, because I'd be like, damn, y'all got a pair of nuts finally for doing something that is unprecedented. Like
I don't think that happens just because that's not they nuts. Like, it's not like we look at them as honorable people that want to help out the little BYU. Like, they don't give a fuck.
Well, this the year they get the chance to set that precedent. Is what I keep saying. This is the first time it's a 12-team championship.
I'm gonna tell you what really is probably throwing people for real. It's actually, and I don't have an issue with this necessarily, but this has been a topic of debate amongst a lot of like media members. A lot of people are wanting now for the G5 to just play their own playoff and for there to not be an auto bid for the G5 because they feel like that's ridiculous. I will say in this instance, Boise State's winning a lot this year, so them being that high is dope. The next highest G5 is Army, who's also undefeated, and that's also dope.
I wanted to talk about that.
There's going to be a year where there's a G5 team who's probably not ranked in the top 34, but you're going to tell us that they got to be ranked in the top 12 and get an automatic bid because they have the highest G5 team. That's going to cause hell. And it's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen.
It may happen, and we'll wrap this shit up. We can talk.
Can I make a quick comment real quick?
Go for it.
This with Army, because Grant did bring up a very good point, which they play next week. If Army beats Notre Dame, it can get really interesting.
Woo!
It can get really because also if Boise continues to win out, you can have Boise and Army in there, which is surprising. It can happen. I'm just saying.
It can. I don't even. My thing is
it could get spicy. Is all I'm saying.
It can. I think my thing is when we all heard something different when we heard about inclusion. When I heard inclusion, I simply thought G5. I didn't think other Big 12 teams, other this, other that. I think that's why I don't think they care about BYU. I think they probably feel like, hey man, my job of inclusion is done. I put this group of 5 team in here. That's it. I don't think we're talking about shit else.
I think my thought process I'm not gonna be honest. I did not think the SEC would beat itself up this much this year.
Yeah, nobody.
It was obviously a possibility, but I did not see it beating itself up this much.
I love it.
That's really why I was like, oh, they'll probably put three SEC teams in because you're gonna have a champion who might be undefeated. You might have a 1-loss team in there. That's 2 automatically, and then they'll probably consider like a third team on the outskirts, and then
that'll be like
the same thing. Yeah, it'll probably be the same thing in Big Ten. I was not expecting to look up in week 10 or 11, and you got 7 teams sitting at 7-2.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I think we'll talk about it, of course, tomorrow. But I think how they rank these teams tomorrow. Hopefully, BYU moves up for y'all's sake. If they sit at 8 or 9, I just want to see where they put Ole Miss because where are you going to put Alabama? I mean, they might just slide everybody up and then move Georgia and Miami back. We'll see. I think it'll be interesting to see. But that is it for us tonight. Saturday Sanctuary, of course, we will be back tomorrow. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Be back tomorrow. Talk about some games coming up this weekend as well as college football playoff that does drop tomorrow. Are they back to doing night or are they doing middle of the day now?
No, it's in between State Farm Champions.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Halftime.
The basketball challenge. Yep, that's true.
They always make a show out of these things, man. Just drop the freaking rankings.
Gotta get that money. Got to get that money.
Give me my money.
Everything doesn't need to be a production. That's just how I feel.
You said what?
I said everything doesn't need to be a production.
Hey, I blame LeBron.